on to consent agenda 5A, amending or approving minutes from our September meeting. Is there a motion? Take the motion approved. Thank you. A second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes from September?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's take 5B and 5C together, review and payment of available bills and accepting the financial reports. So moved. Thank you, Jenny. Second. Thank you, Laura. Anything you'd like to point out?
I do not have anything in particular, but any questions I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, questions? Any questions? Comments? Okay, all in favor of reviewing and payment of bills and financial reports?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving right along. Building project, change order number 6.
So, I'm going to just talk about that since Jeff's not on yet. So there's a few things that are included in this order. The prairie planting, it was just basically expanding kind of where the boundaries of where the old planting prairie was to just blend it into where we disturbed the dirt so that it makes a smoother transition from where the library is to the area around it. Also, the change order for some low voltage items through Omni, the subcontractor. The HVAC projector, I have no clue what that is, but all the people that are smarter than me said that that was an appropriate charge and that they approved it was important. The drywall finish upgrade was, there's 2 areas, one for the IC graphic in the children's area where they can get it smoother texture, and then one place on the second floor, which is a really large wall that gets a lot of sunlight, that they did a better finish on to make sure the wall looks nice as well. The magnetic laminate was for the doors in the story time room. They were supposed to be laminated, but because of discrepancy in the plans, the costs of the laminate finish weren't included in the bid, so that's a portion of the cost to do that. And then the 2 credits are for Alliant Energy, the electrical charges that the library incurs, and the water charges that we incurred for the temporary service. That's in Trino's contract, but it's billed to the library, and then they reimburse us through this change order document. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Not, we need approval from us, correct?
I do need approval on this. It's changing the contract by these amounts.
I have one question.
Yes, John.
You have ample cash in hand to handle all this?
Yes, it's still within our contingency budget. So,
Sure.
yeah, it's being funded by our contingency budget.
Great.
Is there a motion to approve change order 6? So moved. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Presentations, Jeff.
Jeff isn't logged in yet, so we're going to skip ahead to Beth, and we'll come back to Jeff when he logs on, if that's okay?
Sure. Thanks, Beth, for joining us today.
Sure. Is this in your packet?
Our packet was on Friday, so we have the print copy in front of you here, so we don't have it for our packet.
Okay, all right. So last time I was here was about 1.5 years ago, and then before that, maybe 5 years, something like that. So I enjoy doing this. Alrighty, so the first part of it, the overview, is history. This has been in previous reports as well, just explaining when we started. It's been 30 years. I've been a member that whole time. John asked me how long I've been president. I have no recollection. It feels like forever. I've been a part of the Friends of the Library since it started. The previous 2 presidents have passed away, so hopefully that won't be the reason why I stop being the president. So I don't think I'll be the president until the end of my life, let's put it that way. We were formed at the request of the then director of the library, Joan Wethel, because she needed money to fund the summer reading program. And so she asked Rita Plummer, her good friend who had been on the library board and the village trustees, and active in the community for years, to start a group. And so we started initially to raise money for the summer reading program. And then obviously that has expanded to whatever we can fund for the library staff, whatever they ask us. We have in the past been asked for things like tape, chairs, computer desks, and we've always said no. We're funding programs. We're funding things that are not property that should be funded by the village. So that's sort of where we drew the line. Years ago, we decided rather than we felt it was undignified and a waste of time to have the director have to come to us and say, hey, could you fund this? We felt that was just adding to their work. So instead we decided just to cut a check at the beginning of the year and just say, here, use this. And if there was anything else that they needed throughout the year that they couldn't cover with that money, then we would ask them to come and, there was usually other monies that we could do. So what we chose to do with how we do it is that whatever monies we bring in, all of that is turned over to the library, except what we need to run us, which is, as you can see on the next page, very minimal dollars. The rental of the storage locker is the highest, a little bit of postage, and to rent the post office box, and to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So we don't really have any expenses. So that's why we just kind of sweep it out and hand it over. So we don't meet in person anymore because we don't have a place to meet, because the library's been, spread out and using up all the space. So we flipped to once a month, kind of a mass email kind of a meeting. It works. We don't have, any big things that need to be like desperately discussed, so it works. And then once we're in the new space, we'll want to meet in person, but it probably won't be monthly. It's just not a need for it. We're just trying to, it's hard enough to keep people wanting to be on the group. So, we don't want to make it a huge burden, but it is a good excuse to go to the library, so we miss that, and we miss seeing each other in person. So we currently have 95 members, 11 life members, although now that's 10 because Penny Pastor passed away. When I saw her obituary, it occurred to me that when her mother passed away, they had money, and it was because of her mother's funds that we have the bay window in the adult reading center. We were going to have just an open flat wall, and she just said, I can't stand it. Here's $10,000, make a bay window. So, me for the pastor family. So, all right. Our main fundraiser is our used book sale. We have it twice a year. Because of COVID, we had to skip a couple. We got it down to a pretty good science, and we're pretty proud of it for having pretty low costs. We averaged about $1,600 twice a year. It's pure profit, really. I mean, people donate the books to us. We huff them back and forth, and set them out and sell them. So, it's once we started having to pay for the storage locker, that eats into the profit, but it was worth it. We have in the past tried to stop doing the used book sales because it's hard work. It is really hard work. It's like throwing 3 graduation parties and a wedding all in the same day. It's just a lot of hard work. And I'm one of the youngest people. I'm 61, so most of the other people that are in the group are older than me. So it's tough, physically tough. So, but since COVID, we had to reduce a lot of stuff because of space. We were able to get the youth center agreed to let us use their space, which has turned out to be a real godsend. It's actually a more convenient space for us than the Sue Ames room because we can spread out. So it's zero entry. There's parking is right there. There's bathroom and water. There's more space, and the customers have been pleased about that. So that's been good. Do you want me to stop and let Jeff continue?
No, we'll finish up the presentation. We're just going to let Jeff know that it will be just a few minutes.
All
Jeff
right.
will be about five minutes or so. Thank you for joining us.
Alrighty, so you can see that we've still continued to raise money for our book sales since we've been doing them at the youth center. we're down about $300 a sale, but we only have a 1-day sale as opposed to a 2-day sale, so, because of that. So, our next sale is Saturday, that'll be number 56. I think I've been a part of 54. I didn't do it when I was pregnant, or the sale after my kids were born, so, but that's it, so, yeah. We, our challenges with that are people, and, we have a family who has a trailer, and we have to, last weekend we met, put all the boxes on the trailer, they've got it in their garage, and then we're gonna unload Saturday, or Friday night, and then have the sale Saturday, and then what do we do with the books that are left over? That's always, like, it weighs on us. We used to have people that would, like, ask us for the books. We had a variety of different interesting groups of people that would take the leftover books, but it's really impossible to find at this point. So we end up delighting St. Vinny's and Goodwill with, we try not to give them old stuff. We try not to store and try to sell old stuff. They're nice books. They're in good shape. They're not moldy. There's no torn covers. There's nothing out of date. So that's always kind of a challenge. We end up, all of us, taking home piles of them and little by little putting them in our home recycling bins because we don't have any other recourse. So that's a challenge. We've had, so I just wanted to tell you some of the, we've had framed prints, which I'm not sure if they were from the library or somebody, but we got a pile of prints once that we sold, frames and everything. People have given us gourds to sell. We've printed buttons, tote bags, bookmarks, t-shirts. Somebody gave us a mass of stamps from their stamp collection, and I still have one. So then one of our volunteers and her kids put them together painstakingly on cardstock, and then I laminated thousands of these on my little home laminator. And we sold them at, we made $14, $15 a sale on the tons of, because we were trying to do things applicable to books. So I still have one of them, so that was good. And and then National Geographic, I use it a lot, that's why it's all wrinkly. And then when the library was 100 years old, we laminated those. So that was fun. But I have to tell you, grown men have gotten weak at the knees with these. A lovely lady from Oregon in April donated 350 Beanie Babies. And let me tell you how, no kidding, the strongest person in the world cannot resist an aardvark. I mean, let's face it, a crab. They're whimpering when they walk past these. So we have we sold probably half of them at the April sale, so we're hoping that we sell some more at the fall sale because they're darn cute. And people who never thought that they needed one went home with armloads of them, so it was pretty funny. Pretty cute. The woman said, use them for whatever you want, and, so that was very kind of her. Bill's receipts have dried up. His bill's closed, and so that was a bummer because that was the easiest way for us to make hundreds of dollars, close more than 1,000 a year. And Amazon Smiles was another one that dried up too, so that's been tough. Firefly Coffee House recently, with their give back to the community, gave us $1,100 from their Friday sale, and then OCB matched that another $1,000. So we got $2,100 for that. And I think they have not verified this, that they're going to do a big check moment during our book sale on Saturday, although no one has gotten back to me to verify that. But they haven't given us the check either. You can see our expenses, they're low. You can see the funds that we've turned over every year in January. Like I said, we hope to keep on giving at least that much. Who knows what we'll need now that we'll have different space. So there were some things that the members asked me to kind of bring up. We did want to. We committed to $15,000 to give to the building, and for that got the naming rights to sponsor the staff workroom. And so with interest, because we had them in CDs, it was $15,685. Since that donation was turned over, people have been giving us stuff, right? Or we'll get an extra $300 with someone's $5 membership donation, things like that, or whatever. So we've got almost $10,000 more dollars And Jennifer excitedly just showed me a bunch of stuff that they're interested in, so we can't wait to start writing checks again. So, you know, kind of earmarked for the new building. So that's good. We had desperately wanted to know when we could stop renting the storage locker, because that's $1,000 or more than $1,000, and our next one is due February 1st. We also needed to know what to do with the stuff that's in there. With winter approaching and the difficulty with that. There's 9 very heavy wooden tables that we inherited from here and from the library. They are 7 to 7.5 feet long. And Jennifer had said, well, if we can get them back to the library, then you can access them. We also have that old computer desk that we kind of inherited.
Yeah, let's connect next week.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just talk through whatever.
Yeah, because we're going to have to.
We can help with that.
Yeah, because we're going to have to figure out how to get them physically, because I mean, I can't pick one up by myself and put it in my car. It's too heavy, nor do I want to trash my brand new car.
We
So,
can talk about that.
yeah.
Next. Maybe you and I can set up a time to talk, or be
Yeah.
in person, and we can talk through all those things to make sure they're taken care of for you.
So there's that, and we talked about maybe having some shelving that's unused in the current space to be in the room that we will have in the new building. We have to kind of think through, and hopefully we'll kind of hash that out a little bit at our sale this weekend, but also just the thought of like how we're going to use that room. And I think it's going to take a sale or two in the future to like really feel like how that's best going to be used. So we have not told the group to figure out when our next 2 sales would be, but I'll get that information to you, Jennifer, if we can get that on the calendar for next April and next October. Would be really exciting. I think the final thing I just wanted to bring up, and this just something, I was getting my teeth cleaned and I can see the new library through the window, right? And I was being all excited about that. And the hygienist told me the earful she gets from many of her clients. And it's negative. It's all negative. And our heart breaks. It hurts. It hurts to see the stupid comments that are on social media. And I totally recognize why those comments are not ever answered, because, it's killing me. I have to put my phone down because I'm not going to say a word. We are so biting our tongue not to ever look like we're speaking for the library or the library board. And I would say that the vitriol doesn't ever, you guys are sort of hidden, like nobody seems to know you exist because you never hear them blame you. They always blame the village. But it's horrible. But, I just wish that there was a way that more people, the newspaper, it doesn't cut it because nobody gets the newspaper anymore. Just to let you know that it still happens. We get earfuls at our sales. People stop us and complain, and it's always the children will never get access to the library again, and the seniors will never get to the library again. Those are the 2 things that seem to kind of, just to let you know, we're all biting our tongues and wishing there was a way that we could, here, read this. This explains it.
Thank you so much to Beth, and our whole group is a really wonderful group of hardworking folks that do everything for the library. They've been the sole sponsor of our programming since I've been there. Every year, all but $500 of our programming budgets come from the friends and their hard work, so that's incredible. And next week is Friends of the Library Week, so we'll stop at the studio. So we'll celebrate, or we'll celebrate Friends
Yeah,
of the
no,
Library
that's when we, because no kidding, Saturday about 5 o'clock, all of us are about dead for, the rest of the weekend because it's a long sale, and it's going to rain.
In November, I promised I'd give them a tour of the new library,
Yes.
which, the Friends Book Sale room is immediately adjacent and has a door right into the community room with tables that are on wheels, so a lot of the frustration and the hard work that they have will be drastically improved.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely. If anyone's interested, here's our current membership form. There isn't a reason to be a member right now because we don't have a friends only book sale. That was our big shtick was, so the booksellers that normally would spend, business is $100. They don't even have to do that anymore. They just show up for the community sale. So we're missing out on, we have 5 or 6 or 7 book dealers that come, and they're friendly and lovely people, and we enjoy seeing them all the time, but we want to get back to having some reason to be a member, other than our scintillating quarterly newsletters.
It's in the newsletter and your book sale flyer in your packet too, so I think it's awesome. Thank
Any
you so
questions,
much.
anything else? You can always
Thank you, Beth.
reach out.
We really appreciate all of the support that you and the other friends give us, so thank you.
We're happy to do it. All right, I'm gonna excuse myself. Okay?
Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Beth.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Jeff, are you still with us? Hey, Jeff?
Yeah,
We're ready for your report. Do you mind just giving a quick overview of what's going on with the project for our board?
yeah, can you guys hear me okay? I'm having a hard time hearing on my end, but I guess that is.
Yeah, you're good, just talk.
You can hear me okay?
We
Yes.
can hear you.
All right. I'm getting feedback, so now I can't.
We have 4 fans going, if that's what you're hearing. It's very
Say
warm
that
in
again?
here.
Is that better?
I think so. Let me start over. So you guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
You bet.
All right. So, you know, construction's not as straightforward as you might think watching shows on television. So it's a little fluid, and you know we have to adjust small things along the way. But we try to come up with certain milestones that we look at to make sure that we're on track. So, you know, we looked at when we were framing and when we got the roof on. And a couple weeks ago, we got the majority of the drywall finished, so that was kind of a big one to judge, you know, can we be done by the middle of November? So we're on track with all of the typical schedule items, but we had 2 things that have been kind of life and death here that we've been waiting to find out about. One was the electrical gear, the main service for the building, the connection between the transformer from Alliant and then all of our equipment inside the building. And it was delayed, but we got the distributor to accelerate it supposedly, but then we had been hearing that the delivery date still had moved up to what we've been told, so we've been worried about that. But the good news is that it showed up last week Thursday, earlier than even what we had, the acceleration date. And so the electrician's been working on it ever since, and Alliant should be there tomorrow and Friday so that they can actually have power on the building, we can have lights, we can do all of the things that the mechanical trades need to do over the next month to have the building completed in time. So that's huge. And then another one that kind of goes along with that was we were waiting on the delivery date for the elevator, which we need to have that to be able to move in, and we need to have that for occupancy. So, and of course they couldn't install the elevator until we had the permanent power. So those 2 things kind of went together. But power should be on by the end of this week, and the elevator is actually scheduled now to show up next Monday. And it takes them just a couple of weeks to install that. So we're in the clear with the elevator as well. So now it's back to just typical finishes. There's casework going in right now, trim, doors, and they've started on tile, and soon they'll be started on carpeting and other types of flooring. And the contractual date for Tri-North is November 8th, but because we've had some of these delivery challenges, we've compromised a little bit. They're still going to try to get occupancy that week, but if they don't get it and they get it the following week, that would be fine. We're hoping that that results in us getting the library turned over to us, kind of 100% completed before Thanksgiving, and then we will have the first weeks in December to do the rest of the moving and get everything organized and do everything that we need to do on the owner side. So it looks like at the moment all of that is finally going to work out. So Jennifer, do you have anything to add to that?
They paved the first layer of the parking lot today, which was exciting to see, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good one too. It's another good milestone that once you get all the concrete done and get the paving done, it cuts down drastically on the dirt and getting things in the building that we don't want in there. And so now when they start to put the flooring down, it'll be nice to have that paving completed. And they do have the majority of the concrete done as well. And so the next thing that'll happen out there after paving is they'll get going on the landscaping, which is one of the final exterior items. So that's a good sign as well.
Jeff, do you want to comment at all about the budget and how we're doing that way? Do you have anything to add on that topic? People always want to know if it's on schedule and on budget, so those are the two questions I get all the time.
Sure. Jennifer and I have been meeting periodically, go through the change orders that we have to date with Tri-North, and then we try to project for things that we know about. There's certain items that the library is buying directly, so we want to make sure we've got all that accounted for. And at least at the moment, I think we have enough contingency left for some of the small coordination items between now and when we get the library turned over. So all in all, I think we'll be in good shape with the budget.
Are there other questions for Jeff while we have him on the phone? Jeff, do you know when the solar goes in? I know they just sent over the agreement yesterday. Do you know when that'll be installed?
The solar panels?
Yeah.
I don't know that, but those typically come kind of right at the end, and it's easy for them to set those up on the, they'll crane everything up there in one day, so it goes quick.
Anybody else?
We have a best guess on a move-in date?
We have the movers, we have, like Jeff said, all the furniture installs, and the movers are scheduled for the second full week in December. It'll take 6 to 8 days for them to move, and then we'll need some time to transition, so we'll probably need to be closed for a couple weeks in December, but we have that scheduled for middle of December, just to be vague, but as accurate as possible. at the
Vague
same
is
time.
good.
So perhaps by the start of the year, we could be occupying?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
So
to do
excited,
for the
crossing the
moves. We have
legs.
probably about just under 2 weeks of actually moving things from one building to the other. We have over 75,000 items to keep in order and then move from one order to a different system. We have all the offices to move, some storage areas to reorganize. So there's a little bit of a transition time. But once we kind of know we're on the schedule that Jeff talked about, then we'll start publicizing the dates to the community once we know the firm.
And we have a contract with the moving company to make that happen.
We do. If we needed to postpone, they would be booking out into January. So,
Ouch.
but as long as we can keep the schedule that we're on, we're in good shape.
Still good,
with movers.
okay.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
good.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Can we thank him?
Yeah, we can thank him a lot. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I heard that. So, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
All right, we can move on to discussion and possible action items and start with the purchase of patio furniture. I'm so excited.
So we're kind of getting down to the last amount of our furniture budget, but the last items that are smaller dollar amounts take just as long as the big items that are bigger dollar amounts. So in your packet, I have a recommendation for 3 proposals for furniture items that will start our patio furniture purchases. So my recommendation would be to purchase those items. They will come from the furniture budget and do fall within that budget line item for the project.
This isn't the same furniture that we looked at and approved last
No, so
month?
this is in addition to the item that we approved last month, so that though that item was kind of for the children's area, we'll have some tables with chairs that will, you know, let groups kind of sit together, have meetings, have a workspace for people. There'll be a couple like more comfy chairs that'll kind of be, if you want to sit out and see the view, with like a little coffee table in between that you can put your drink down or your papers down and kind of enjoy the view. So we'll kind of have a couple different kind of areas of furniture with variety just to accommodate different body types and different uses on the patio. This is all really good quality commercial product. The one product is all stackable so that we can stack it. The other one is very sustainable, including the packaging. So there's some benefits to each of the products. But we also have a donor that's sponsoring the patio, and so the donor was also good with these. I know Jenny has used one of these products on a hospital project she's worked on, and it was good. So it's just that is a egg chair, that kind of a fun chair for kids and teens to kind of cozy up on. So I thought I had a picture in there, but I don't have that included. So
Yeah, I don't see it.
I must have missed out in the background. Sorry.
Make a motion to approve the purchase.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura or John.
It's okay, good. See ya.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the patio furniture?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have patio furniture.
Well, we will have.
We will. Well, I counted as we got it.
There's something about chickens and eggs here.
Done the hard work of approving things. What do you know?
So we get to approve now aesthetic and signage amenities for the new library.
So this is kind of just bulking a couple different items together. We're waiting for a quote on the donor recognition signage, which as of when this went out, we didn't have. Now we have 3 options, and I believe 2 of the 3 fall within the budget parameters we set here. So we should be okay on that. But there's kind of some a few things that we need to do that we may not be able to, you know, have every single purchase approved through the board, and generally projects like the Village Hall do the same thing where they say you can purchase things within a budget line item, but we just want to verify that that's okay with you. So one is artwork. So we contacted an artwork consultant that Jeff recommended to help us select appropriate artwork for the library, and we can choose which items we want and how much we want to spend or decline, you know, any of those items that we wish to do. So we've done that. So we do have a budget line item for artwork. We want to make the library feel like a special space that it, you know, is kind of purposeful and thoughtful and kind of have everything fit together. The other thing is donor recognition signage. The donor wall was ordered. The donor recognition signage falls within this art and decorating, specialty design and material budget that is supposed to include signage, but I just want to, you know, let you know that we plan to order that we won't be bringing the exact design or the exact proposal back to you just because we want to have those signs ordered and installed when we open, just because we want to have those donors be able to see their space honored when we open. And then the last thing is end panel signs, and so those would also fall under the specialty design line item, and basically are the things that go on the end of each shelving unit that say what's in that aisle, so that when people are looking for books, they can say, oh, this is the fiction aisle, or this is, you know, picture books or whatever. And so we would get signs that have the ability to have an insert, either magnetic or, you know, there's lots of different ways they can do it. We'll probably have 2 different vendors price those, but we would want to order those, and if we can have them by when we open, that's great. If we need to wait a little longer to get the right product, we will do that. Could be something temporary, but we just want to get it right. So those are the 3 items that I have a recommended motion here to approve the purchase of artwork within the budget parameters, and to approve the purchase of donor signage and end panel signage up to that total from the specialty design and material budget line item. So some of the other things we purchased from that line item, the Tycee work we paid for with donations, and so we do have adequate funds in this line item to cover these, but I just, you know, want to make sure you kind of get a guesstimate of what it'll cost. That's probably on the higher end of what it'll cost. It'll probably cost less, but I just want to make sure that we don't have any issues with not being able to order things because my math is bad.
So I would entertain a motion to approve that purchase.
So moved.
Thank you, Coral. Is there a second?
May I?
Thank you, Jen. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to the 2024 library budget request.
So this is informational only, it's just an update. The village had their first budget meeting on the 2nd, and their next budget meeting is on the 16th. When we spoke last, we weren't sure how much they were gonna be able to support the teen librarian position. And I just wanted to let you know that the draft budget that was presented to the village board did include full funding of that position out of the village budget, which is really wonderful for us. We've been working on some scheduling coordination for the new library, and that position is absolutely essential to be able to provide the level of service and to staff the desks and provide for vacations and things. So the schedule is not as challenging because we have that position. If we were not to have that position, it would not be, we'd have to think really hard about how we could run things without that. So I'm really appreciative that the village was able to include that for the full year at this point. And then they did update our request to include the health insurance premiums, which they've since gotten. And then they made some slight adjustments to the original compensation study numbers, but right now they're still having 2.5% increase at least for all staff members, in addition to trying to apply some of the compensation study strategies to kind of get people where they should be, because people started at various places relative to what the study said they should be paid. So I think those are all good news. Unfortunately, health insurance premiums are going up a lot more. And there's a lot of things that go into the budget schedule, but we are appreciative of that support. The village does have their meeting on Monday, and then they have a public hearing in November where they can vote on the budget. So after November 20th, it will be final. They can make changes up until then. So you just kind of understand the process. And then I included the pages in the village, from the village budget packet that Martin distributed to village board members to explain our budget request. The numbers that were updated and things are in front of you there. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that, but basically that's good news for us. And just a reminder that we're fortunate that there's some additional revenue for the village this year, and that the timing of our project worked out like it will. Then again, in future years, the village will be back to the levy limit, which means that, you know, it will be difficult to add positions and meet the needs of all the other departments at the same time. So just want to give you a heads up that we're fortunate the timing worked out this way, and in future years will be a lot more challenging to do. So, are there any questions?
None. Thank you for that update, Jennifer. I really do appreciate the village taking our request into consideration and including it in their presentation so far. Okay, moving on to library cleaning services.
So this is a contract with a current company that we've had clean the libraries done so for the last 5 years. And so this is a contract for them to continue to clean the library in the new facility. It's important that we sign this to make sure that there's no gap in service, that it's important that the library be clean no matter what. One of the things that we're looking at as part of the budget is whether there would be a shared janitor position that, you know, may benefit the village overall and result in increased cleaning hours for everybody. But we want to sign this contract with Environmental Control to move forward, and been really happy with their service. They do a great job, and continue with them for the immediate future. There's a 60-day cancellation period, so either party can cancel with 60 days notice if needs change. So my recommendation would be to approve the contract to include the Monday through Friday cleaning for the new library. We'd love Saturday service, but we would just not simply be able to afford it at this point. It would be something to grow towards. Just because the library is used 6 days a week, eventually it would be nice to grow into a place where it's cleaned every day it's used.
And you're comfortable with the increased budget that they're requesting for the larger space?
Yes, their quote, they gave us the quote in time, so we were able to budget their costs for the new library into our budget. So the budget numbers we have for cleaning services are based off of their proposal. So we have funds to cover their contract, no problem.
Good.
So is there a motion to approve the environment control contract for Monday through Friday?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Coral. Is there a second? Thank you, Jenny. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We have cleaning service. Next, rescind library emergency closing policy.
So one of the things that recently was enacted, or not so recently anymore, was the village updated their employee handbook. And one of the things they addressed in the handbook is closure policy for village buildings, which includes how to handle it in terms of paying employees, where to report, and things like that. The library had a separate policy, but a lot of the terms that we had are now outdated and basically superseded by this other handbook, which we as a board adopted. And so just to make sure there's no confusion, I want to rescind the former policy because it's no longer applicable. So basically the library will no longer have our own policy, we'll just rely on the village policy moving forward. And then there's a few points in the handbook we need to clarify because our operations are a little unique, being open on Saturdays and things. So when we do that clarification, which will hopefully really be next month, we'll just add a bullet point or two that addresses anything that maybe that we have to transfer from our current policy that isn't covered in the village policy.
Have we ever closed when the village didn't, or vice versa?
Yes, but we can still, the village policy doesn't say they'll make the decision for us, but it says,
okay.
so we could still
That
make our own
makes sense.
decision, because our staffing is a little different. In the past, it's hard to tell the library employees to come to work when the village has closed their offices, so we generally close when they close. There's been a few times, we generally try to stay open when we can, but when it's not safe, like I think last year there was a giant ice storm where the Firefly was closed even, and that was a day where we chose to close so our employees could stay home, and so that it just kind of addresses that on a more holistic way and how that will be approached.
No, I think as long as we have the flexibility in case we do need to kind of stray from the beaten path, I think that's fine.
It's also a little bit more accessible. When we originally did our policy, it was reviewed by labor attorney, and so it got to be a little bit technical, and Martin really simplified it. So I think that will be helpful moving forward to have it a little more, simple.
Sounds good.
You need a motion?
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second. Whoever you want to write down is fine.
Just write them.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of rescinding the emergency closing policy?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Now rescinding the COVID-19 policy.
So this policy was originally adopted back in 2020 when we didn't know what was going on in the world, and kind of let patrons know how we were approaching things for safety and some special rules that we were, trying to make accommodations. It no longer is really relevant to the way that things are operating, so I'd like to rescind it. This is specifically for patrons, and most of the things are like, it talks about 6 foot distancing and things like that, which are maybe something that people still want to do, but not necessarily something we have to have a policy about at this point. So I would recommend we rescind that policy as well.
It's been a strange time in our history,
Sure has.
dealing with COVID.
I think it makes me want to cry looking at this because I remember how awful that period of time was. Yes, let's rescind it.
Get rid of
Rescind
it.
it twice. Yes.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly how to say the thing.
It's over.
So is there a motion to rescind this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Coral. Is there a second? Thanks, Laura. Any discussion?
Done.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Heck no.
All right. We have rescinded the COVID-19 policy.
Goodness.
Moving on to amending library policies to reflect the new address after our move.
Tell people we've moved? What?
So we have a number of policies that contain our address within the policy itself, and so technically to do that, we need to amend the policy.
Oh,
language.
seriously?
And so I just would like a blanket approval from you that any policy that includes our address will be updated to include the new address, and that we don't have to bring each individual policy to you unless the policy language itself needs to be updated.
We just give you the power, we authorize you, is that the deal?
I don't have the
Like
power
Laura,
of policy.
Laura's gonna have to come on.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, John. All in favor, or discussion, are we good? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Let's move.
Good luck, Laura. Library director's report.
So a couple of things. So I got an email this week from the USDA to learn that their funds have been transferred from the, or
Yay!
been requested to be transferred from
That's the same Yes.
office to the state USDA office.
Well, you don't have them yet.
No, upon which after that, they can issue us a letter of conditions and, and the obligation papers to obligate the funds. So it still will not be official, but it allowed them to do the next step. And so I'm hoping that that can happen soon. In the meantime, in case that doesn't happen or there's a government shutdown when they're continuing a resolution for operating ends in a few weeks, we have started conversations with the village about how to do a short-term borrowing until we can confirm that we're eligible, or even if we're eligible in case the government shuts down, so that we can still pay our bills in the meantime. So we are still hoping and working really hard to get that funding to come through.
You must have a recurring calendar reminder to follow up with those
Yeah.
people like every 2 weeks.
Yep. Any update?
Because I'm looking at
Full-time
your
job,
emails
just to
and
keep
it's like,
track of
oh,
it.
I didn't
I
get
did.
the update.
I didn't mean to include that. I apologize. I was going to take out those.
I loved it. It
That
shows
email
you were
string
very
was crazy.
consistent in following up with them. It's ridiculous.
But the village is talking to the banks to find out if we have to do a short-term borrowing, how that would work. And then that would have to probably move forward at the November meeting, and that might be something that we want to do just as a backup plan in case there's a government, depending on the status of the government operating budget, because we don't know what that will do.
Is there a possibility you might need like an emergency meeting of our trustee board or?
The village would have to authorize the funding. They've already approved that when our bid came back and the bids were higher, they did approve that they would borrow up to $1 million more.
Okay.
But they would also need to agree to the terms of the borrowing with the loaning institution. So that would be up to them to do.
That's on the village
It
then?
would be the village's
Okay.
choice to do that. It wouldn't require any library board approval.
Okay.
So I think we'll be okay there. But we're working hard and hope that that funding grant comes through. And I've been doing everything over the last 18 months to be able to get that funding. And the village has been incredibly helpful. Various staff members have helped in various ways. Like last week, Lisa had to give me a report documenting payment of every form of payment, to be able to give all the check numbers for every payment we've made and things like that. So various village staff have been really helpful, so I appreciate that. And hopefully next time we meet, we will have that off the list.
Yeah.
We also, I think you know about this, the library and the village were recognized at the Dane County level for being a climate champion for the design of the new library because of geothermal and solar and some of the other sustainable materials and design elements. So that was exciting to be recognized. Laura and the village president, Phil Van Campen, were able to go to that event. It was just nice to hear that recognition. We also have the village does an annual appreciation luncheon for employees, and we have a number of employees that are reaching milestones. So I'm going to recognize Laura tonight. She's married this year. And then we have a number, you guys already kind of recognized me earlier this summer, but we also have Sam Canny is one of our pages that still fills in. Patricia Pagalski is another page that's been with us 5 years, and Kara Ripley started earlier in the year. I started, and she's teaching 5 years as well. So we just really like to celebrate that and appreciative that the village does something nice for staff to honor village-wide. It's also nice for the village departments to get together. We also have 2 new staff, Katie Pitts and Chris Page, that started in September. So we are currently full staffed again, which makes a world of difference. Yes. And then just want to point out, Karen and I met with Rachel, the Senior Center Director, about the status of some grant funding that allows them to provide rides for seniors. And one of the things she is exploring is whether or not that funding might be available to provide seniors without transportation rides to the new library. So we've heard from most people that getting to the new library might be just a different way, but isn't a big deal for them. But the folks in town that don't have transportation or aren't able to drive, for them, we want to make sure they have service. We also do have others, some other services, but we were talking about possible partnerships to make sure we can get to the folks that might not have transportation themselves, especially the seniors. So Rachel will be putting a blurb in the November Senior Center newsletter, which is going to come out, I think, in the next week or two. just to kind of mention that if somebody has a transportation concern and is worried about how they're gonna get to the library, that they can reach out to either the senior center staff or the library staff, and that will work with them to figure out what services and how to make sure we're still meeting their needs, and then make sure we can provide solutions for that, so.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
It's a good thing that we're not waiting on that grant to like feed ourselves or something.
I did have a library call me that was waiting to start construction, and they are on the other end, and they're been waiting to start construction since they've had the same time we did it, and we're hoping to bid it this fall, and they have to delay it because they have certain processes that have to be followed in a certain way, and so they have to kind of go in the sequential order. So now they think they're gonna have to wait to bid till spring, but it's like almost $500,000, and to them it's critical to their project, so they have to do it.
I mean,
So,
that's reasonable.
I'm just worried about the costs that they put into meeting the requirements, and then the time the costs have gone up, so that's a little bit the tricky part about the time lag. So fingers crossed for everybody.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Quarterly management team and strategic plan reports.
That should be in your packet. So our management team, we like to have them just share some of the fun things they're working on. A lot of times we talk about the less exciting parts of the library, the contracts and the purchasing and things, but there's a lot of amazing things going on every day. We got a really nice compliment from a family that attended story time this morning and how fun and important that was to them, so that's great to hear. But this allows each department to kind of highlight some of the special projects they've been working on, some of the special events they go to, and just all the work they're doing to prepare for the new library. So I encourage you to really, if you read nothing else in the packet, again, to take a look at that and just really see some of the amazing things that the team is doing, because that's what all of the work that we do and all the work that we do as a team is all about.
I do really appreciate how everyone tied them back to the strategic plan goals as well. I thought that was I really appreciated that.
I did too. Sorry.
And
The
maybe-
last track is a little off, I know.
But we're so close to the end. Communications from village board announcements. Do we have any village board announcements?
They're working on their budget. I think that's the biggest thing that they're doing right now, so.
Okay. School district announcements?
Homecoming week.
Homecoming week?
Yay. Freeze at the football game on Friday.
No
Trying to
way.
stay dry during the parade.
Okay, our next meeting is on Wednesday, November 8th at 5:15 p.m. here at the Senior Center. Is there a request for any future agenda items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Jenny. Is there a second?
That's a second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. We will see you on November 8th, if not at the book sale on Saturday.